Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly, and welcome to this video in which we're going to look at how to avoid these 6 golf equipment disasters. We're going to look at everything from the choices that you make about the clubs that you carry, right through to some of those simple errors that we've all made from time to time while we're out on the golf course that can end up costing you shots. We're here at the London Club and we're going to head out now to the golf course to look at how to avoid these 6 golf equipment mistakes. So number 6 on the list relates to these, your laser rangefinder. And I'm sure many of you have done this. I've definitely done this a few times. Get to the golf course, go to get your first yardage, and lo and behold, the battery's run out. You've not got a spare one in your bag, and suddenly you're without any sort of distance measuring device throughout the whole of the round, and that can really cost you valuable shots. So really simple, make sure that you always have a spare battery in your golf bag. Just buy them in 2s and keep a spare one in there. You never know when you might need it, and you'll feel pretty smug when the battery does run out and you've got a spare one in your bag, and you will be covered. You'll be able to carry on as normal. So the next one on the list relates to your glove and actually your golf shoes as well. So whenever you play golf in really bad weather, sort of torrential rain, you need to figure out the best way of drying out your golf equipment after you play it in order not to ruin it. Now what you don't want to do is put any sort of leather items, so glove or shoes, directly onto radiators to dry them off. That actually can do more harm than good. In my back pocket here I have a glove that last night I run under the water and then I put it onto the radiator and left it for a couple of hours, and you can see the sort of state that it's in. If I put it on, it feels really crusty and hard. I'm sure many of you watching this video will know how this feels. Even getting my hand into it's quite difficult. And suddenly all of that sort of soft feel from this glove and that really sort of supple feel has gone, and really I'd probably only use that glove now in practice if I had to use it at all. So if you have played golf in really bad weather, just remember to dry your equipment off in a sort of a dry room without putting it directly onto the heat source. Otherwise, you could end up with a situation like this. So the next one on my list relates to what you stash in your golf bag. Now, I always carry with me this. This is the FootJoy Hygienic half-zip waterproof jacket. It's incredibly lightweight, and that's the key. So I can just leave it in my golf bag and use it whenever I need to. Now, most of the manufacturers will offer a really lightweight waterproof option, and they'll come at different price points. So there should be something out there to suit everyone's budget. And just having it stored in your golf bag for whenever you need it means that whenever the weather does turn, you've got an option there that's going to help you carry on playing good golf. Now this is one that we've covered before, but is definitely worth reiterating here, and it relates to your Fairway Woods, because for a lot of golfers, Fairway Woods are the hardest clubs to hit in the bag, especially when the ball is on the ground, so not on a tee peg. You're stood there, you're quite a long way from the ball, the head's quite compact, the ball is on the ground, and it's all just quite intimidating. And that's why a lot of golfers struggle with it, myself included. Now, I went through a fitting a couple of years ago, and I told the fitter that this was an area of the bag that I didn't feel very comfortable with. And we ended up with a Fairway Wood with a lot more loft on it. And for me, that's been a real revelation for my game. So what I've given up in terms of distance, I've gained in terms of playability. So it's something worth bearing in mind. Ultimately, you've only got 14 clubs to carry, and you need to make sure that you are confident in using each of those 14 clubs. With Fairway Woods, I've said it before, but with Fairway Woods, these can become a bit of bag furniture, so they end up staying in the bag, but you don't really feel confident using them. You want to make sure that you are, and for me that meant a little bit more loft, giving up on a bit more distance, but gaining a lot more playability. Okay, so the next one on the list relates to your wedges. And the thing about wedges is because they're a little bit cheaper than, for instance, a driver or a set of irons, it can be more of an impulse purchase. So you wander into the pro shop, you pull a wedge off the rack, you take a look at what it looks like, you have a waggle and you go, okay, I'll have that. And obviously we would always advise you to go and get custom fitted, make sure that you get your wedges properly gapped and that you can hit every shot around the greens with them. But if you don't go through that process, just be wary of the fact that you need a wedge that you can play bunker shots with confidently. And for that, you'll need a wedge with a reasonable amount of bounce on it. You want the club to be able to literally skip through the sand, to bounce through the sand. If you don't have a wedge with enough bounce on it, it will have a tendency to dig. You'll have a tendency to probably hit those bunker shots a little bit fat, and that can cause you big problems while you're out on the golf course. So just be sensible when you're buying a wedge, make sure that you've got something that you can hit bunker shots with, and you should be okay. Do not use golf clubs that are too stiff for you. Now, this is very generalised and needs to be taken with a healthy pinch of salt because every golfer is different, but I think there's probably more of a tendency amongst golfers to use clubs that are too stiff than the other way around. Now, we contacted the Shot Scope. They have a GPS watch and some tags that you put into the end of the golf clubs, and they track every shot that you hit while you're out on the golf course. They then feed that data back to you so you get better understanding about what you're doing out on the golf course. We asked them for the data, the driving data related to the average golfer. So the average golfer in their database has a handicap of 15.4. They drive the ball on average 217 yards, and crucially, they're more likely to miss right than they are to miss left. If they do miss a fairway, 58% of the time it will be right, and 42% of the time it will be left. Now, if you do end up playing with clubs that are slightly too stiff for you and you're a right-hander, you will be more likely to miss right than left. Now, that's very generalised, and as I say, everyone delivers the club slightly differently to the ball, and that's why we would always advise everybody out there to go and get custom fitted for their golf equipment, especially if you're spending quite a lot of money on it. You want to make sure that investment is as sort of shrewd as possible. So having that expert with you is vitally important. But again, if you do go through the process of getting custom fitted, just make sure that as you're running through the process, you don't swing at the ball too hard. Can be very easy. I'm sure you've done it before. I certainly have. When you're on the range, you're hitting shot after shot after shot, just to start swinging faster and faster and faster. Just have this piece of advice in the back of your mind. Keep the tempo of your swing nice and smooth so that it replicates more realistically what you're going to be doing out on the golf course, because if you do swing at the club a little bit too hard during a fitting, the tendency might be to end up with something that's just that little bit too stiff for you and doesn't really provide all the benefits that you're looking for while you're out on the golf course. So there you have it. That's our list of how to avoid these 6 golf equipment disasters. Now, these are all mistakes that I think we've all made from time to time on the golf course, but hopefully with that you'll be able to avoid them in the future and make smarter decisions about what you put into play. Guys, what did you think of the video? And also, what mistakes have you made relating to your equipment? Let us know. Share those ideas around. It's really interesting for people to hear. But that's it for now from the London Club. See you next time.